Well, welcome back to Midday Live on Saturday. My name is Solis Rose Quarter. It's now time for us to do some business news, and let's move on to our first story. And the Tema Oil Refinery has started exporting gasoline to Nigeria following an increased production capacity from 45,000 metric tons to 60,000 metric tons. This is one of the many strategies management of the company is putting in place to turn its fortunes around. It comes on the back of some challenges the refinery has faced in the recent past years, some of which include the shutting down of its residual fuel catalytic cracking RFCC unit for repairs.
The alien Tema Oil Refinery had faced serious challenges until a new management took up a vigorous restructuring exercise in January this year. TOR lost all its key engineers and technicians to giant oil firms in Kuwait and Qatar during the challenging period.
Tema Oil Refinery has gone through serious operational challenges, from frequent shutdowns to worker agitations and the infamous TOR death. But today, management say they have a better story to tell. The refinery has now come alive.
The refinery since January has received and processed 2 million barrels of crude oil, bringing in over $2 million. Acting Managing Director Kingsley Kwame Ewadaku says TOR has come out of its challenging past.
What BOST did was to go into an agreement with the refinery, where the refinery would process crude oil for BOST on a tolling basis. Instead of importing refined petroleum products, when we have the opportunity to work with a refinery which is also owned and run by Ghanaians, why don't we switch to importing crude oil? Have the refinery refine and process it so that we secure our jobs in country.
He explained how TOR began to export refined gasoline.
We couldn't predict how well the refinery would run, so we didn't curtail our refined petroleum product imports. Now, bearing in mind that when we did the initial projections, we were hoping to get 35,000 tons of gas oil or diesel from the first 1 million barrels. We got 63,000 tons. That immediately created a storage problem for us, and it was the same for gasoline. So we had to export.
The TOR debt, which currently stands at 1 billion cedis, is expected to be defrayed by the close of the year, following an agreement with 4 banks to pay as bond for 10 years. With the feet chalked up, workers and management had a lot to celebrate about.
Indeed, definitely some good news there. Let's move on. And real gross domestic product for the fourth quarter of 2015 grew by 4.9% compared to 4.5% in the fourth quarter of 2014, a marginal growth rate of 0.4%. The slow rate growth is attributed to the weak performance of agriculture, the volatility in the commodities market, and the utilities. Ghana GDP, including oil, for the fourth quarter of 2015 was estimated in excess of 9.6 million cedis as compared to 9.37 million in the third quarter of the same year. Real gross domestic product for the fourth quarter of 2015 grew by 4.9%, a marginal growth rate of 0.4% over the third quarter.
The provisional 2015 fourth quarter GDP estimate at current prices for both oil and non-oil was 37,409.8 million Ghana cedis. The revised estimate for the third quarter of 2015 was 36,676.9 million Ghana cedis.
The agriculture sector grew by 1.4% in the fourth quarter compared to 2.0% in the third quarter of 2015, representing a negative growth of 0.6%. There was a 1.7% growth in industry in the fourth quarter compared to 0.5% growth in the third quarter, representing a 1.2% growth. The service sector grew by 1.3% in the fourth quarter as against 1.0% in the third quarter, indicating a 0.3% growth. Per capita income for the year 2015 stood at 5,057 cedis as against 4,192 cedis for 2014. In dollar terms, per capita income for 2015 was $1,339 against $1,426 in 2014.
From the memorandum items, the dollar figure for 2015 seems to have gone down, whilst the cedi value is high.
Gross domestic product, GDP, is the monetary value of all the finished goods and services produced within a country's borders in a specific time period. All right, let's move on. And the CEO of the Financial Intelligence Center, Thompson Essel, wants existing laws relating to banking, insurance and securities amended for easy sanctioning of institutions which fail to comply with money laundering and terrorist financing measures. He was speaking at the presentation of the National Risk Assessment Report in Accra.
In recent years, money laundering and financing of terrorist activities has increased in proportion, putting at risk the global financial systems. Criminals have concealed their illicit proceeds by investing in legitimate business through a number of schemes in banks and other financial institutions. To curb this menace, the National Risk Assessment on Money Laundering and Terrorism Financing was formed in 2014 to help determine the level of vulnerability facing the country. CEO of the Financial Intelligence Center, Thompson Essel, said current banking laws must be amended to ensure offending institutions under the anti-money laundering measures.
We also advised that there should be the establishment of an asset management office to manage tangible property seized and confiscated. In this regard, we strongly recommend the amendment of the law to incorporate non-conviction confiscations.
The Deputy Minister of Finance, Mona Korte, said the threat posed by terrorist financiers is not a problem of one country in the sub-region.
Government has taken several commendable steps to further strengthen the AML-CFT regime, and also to cure weaknesses identified in the last pre-mutual evaluation. It is therefore the hope of the Government of Ghana that this National Risk Assessment will live up to its stated objective of providing guidance on the conduct of identifying and assessing threats and vulnerabilities of Ghana relative to the money laundering and terrorism financing.
The report recommended governments to improve on their address and identification systems by creating a platform for a harmonized verification facility to assist in investigations.
Well, that's all for business news here on Midday Live. My name is Solace Rose Korte.